Why are you so angry?
I'm not angry. Okay? I'm not angry.
Toby's like,
I don't think Tom Brady, I don't think Drew Brees, I don't think Peyton Manning are generational talents. This dude is once again tone deaf. This dude is once again unaware. This dude is once again arrogant.
Ryan Clark, who's an NFL analyst for ESPN, was let go from the network mid-show yesterday.
While he was on NFL
While he was appearing on NFL Live.
It wasn't about you. It was going to be about me.
On Monday afternoon, we experienced one of the wildest firings that we've seen in recent memory. Ryan Clark is sitting on the NFL Live set doing what he's done for over a decade. He's just taping the show. And in the middle of that taping, he gets breaking news. ESPN is cutting him. This is all going down while this is happening.
Then also incorporating Patrick Ricard so we can get those big packages.
According to Andrew Marchand of The Athletic, Clark was informed of his firing while in the middle of taping NFL Live and left during the show. Could you think about how awkward that is? The man walked off his own set in the middle of the show, and according to Richard Deitch of the Sports Business Journal, ESPN wasn't even planning to tell him until Tuesday. They moved it up so he wouldn't find out from the media first. That was the courtesy. That was the goodbye, which is also why I kind of shot my shot at ESPN on X, if you guys want to go retweet that, because I have like no juice on X at all.
This nigga back door, look at him. It's the face of a nigga that's back door.
Whatsoever. The history of the company. Super Bowl 61, the biggest assignment that Bristol has ever had. And according to Marchand, Ryan Clark was expected to be a large part of that coverage. Instead, he's the first name in a wave of layoffs that hasn't even finished rolling yet, guys. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through everything, because ESPN had Ryan Clark on a very loose leash. There were 5 controversies that ESPN already forgave, including the time this man apologized to a player and threatened him in the same exact video. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about the real reason he got fired, and it's not the take that you're seeing on every other YouTube channel this week. And finally, I'm going to talk about what Ryan Clark's future is going to look like. Now, before we get to the content, I am running a massive GTA 6 giveaway. All you have to do to enter is subscribe, turn on our notifications on this channel, and now that we get all that out of the way, let's get to today's video. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Let's talk about who Ryan Clark truly was. This man wasn't some fringe guy at ESPN. This dude was everywhere. NFL Live, Get Up, First Take. He started appearing on the network while he was still playing, became full-time after he retired following the 2014 season. Then he spent the next decade becoming one of the most visible former players in the entire building. Just 3 months ago, he was front and center for ESPN's coverage of the 2026 NFL Draft in the city where he won a Super Bowl. That's how central this man was to their NFL product. And just 3 months later, he's gone. And according to Marchand's reporting, this is the first wave of ESPN layoffs expected to happen later this week, with more names expected.
Damn, they treat that motherfucker like that motherfucker Mickey D's or something. For they come in that bitch like, bro, shout out Red, too funny how you doing the voices and shit. Yeah, guys, we gotta make some firings this week. So yeah, we gotta fire about 30 motherfuckers. And it's looking like 10 shows is about to get cut off this week. Cut. Crystal, what you think we should do about this? Well, I think that we should we should just cut all the black shows. Think that's a great idea, Crystal? On me. Ryan Clark and that motherfucker, he say, man, they go through that A gap, then they go left to that B gap. Then they do the 1-2 flex in the straight. They motherfucker say low key. Motherfuckers, they the fucked up part about it. They fuck around had his homie hit. You know what? His homies from the network tell you, hey, folks, hit my line, folks. They saying they firing your ass. He what? I'm facing some little memo. Yeah, my boy. I just got news. Huncho and them thought I wasn't gonna say nothing before I had to get this to you, folks. You my boy. Yeah, it's grass. You fired, folks. He what? You like, man, fuck this show, I'm out. On me, that's how that went for. I'm telling you.
As soon as Tuesday. And this isn't
Sure
even
like
the
that.
first round this year. ESPN already laid off 30 people in April, but I need you to pay attention to one detail of this, and this is where it gets a little interesting, because ESPN isn't just laying off people, they're also extending contracts everywhere.
What? Oh, me, they dead wrong, folks. They ass bogus.
According to Pro Football Talk, they've been locking up on-air people from both ESPN and NFL Network at the same time that they're cutting Ryan Clark. So this isn't a company that is slashing people to survive. This is a company that is being selective about the talent that they choose to keep. And Ryan Clark didn't make the cut. Now, I want you to keep that in the back of your mind, because this is going to matter in about 5 minutes from now. Because to understand why ESPN cut this guy in this very moment, you need to understand everything that they put up with. And bro, believe me, the list is absolutely freaking insane.
I ain't gonna lie, this sound kind of biased. Like, he's trying to get a job, but let's just keep listening, folks.
So to understand the first piece of drama, you need to understand who Sage Steele was at ESPN. This wasn't some random colleague. Steele spent 16 years at ESPN. She was a SportsCenter anchor since 2007, the host of NBA Countdown, one of the most recognizable faces in the building. And in September of 2021, she went on Jay Cutler's podcast and torched her own company. She called ESPN's vaccine mandates sick and scary, and questioned why Barack Obama identifies as black on the census, and then said that female reporters share some blame for how athletes treat them. ESPN pulled her off the air for nearly 2 weeks. She came back, and then in April of 2022, she did something almost nobody at
Shorty was bapping about some of that stuff, but like, a great majority, she's not.
ESPN has ever done. She sued ESPN and Disney, claiming they retaliated against her, stripped her assignments, and let her own colleagues freeze her out. And this is where Ryan Clark enters the story. According to Sage Steele's lawsuit, one of the colleagues who refused to appear on air with her over politics was Ryan Clark. And let me be clear with you, that's an allegation from her lawsuit. This is not an established fact. But here's what makes it hard to wave off. Their own legal filing defended allowing her co-workers to forego appearing with her as a casting decision. So ESPN's own lawyers acknowledged co-workers were opting out of sharing a screen with the woman. They just argued that it was legal. The case settled in August of 2023. Steele walked away from her 16-year career that same day. So why does a 2021 backstage beef matter to a 2026 firing? Because it tells you the pattern of this didn't start with a hot mic or a viral clip. It started in the hallways, behind closed doors. And hold on to Sage Steele's name, because 4 years later, when Clark got into some trouble, guess who came out swinging? Sage Steele, calling his comments classless, divisive, gross, and unnecessary. The receipts in this story are really deep, and they're connected, guys.
Check, please. What? Why is this so expensive? Are you kidding me?
No, you are the one kidding. That $100 coupon vandal. Your 7 promotions are fake!
The receipts in this story are really deep, and they're connected, guys. Now that was behind closed doors. But Ryan Clark has a bunch of public explosions as well. And to understand why this one hit so hard, you have to understand where Tua was in his life in this exact moment. This is a man that was coming off of the scariest season any quarterback has ever had in years. The 2000
On me, I ain't gonna lie, black folks really said he gave his ass that look like, hell no. He, like, for his ass try to keep him, he gave his ass that slight grab, like, nigga, you stand right here for, your homie too drunk and his ass tweaking a little bit, you holding his ass. Your ass ain't going nowhere for it's over.
2022 concussions were a national story. The fencing response clip on Thursday Night Football horrified everybody who watched it. And Tua spent that offseason openly discussing the fact that he'd considered retiring at 25 years old. His answer was to rebuild his body. He took up jiu-jitsu. He added weight specifically to protect himself in falls. The man's physique was the comeback story. So what does Ryan Clark do on NFL Live? He completely discredits all of the progress that Tua made by saying this.
He wasn't in the gym. I bet you that. Spent a lot of time at the tattoo parlor, not at the dinner table eating with the nutritionist. He is thick. He's thick. Yeah, he's built like girl work at Onyx in Atlanta right now on the bottom.
The man compared Tua's physique to a dancer at a gentleman's club in Atlanta.
Takes a lot. You think I wanted to to build all this muscle, like.
Which is kind of ironic because Tua would end up signing with Atlanta a few years later. But he did this on national television about a guy coming off of a 3,005.
Tua in Atlanta. Okay.
525 touchdown season in just 13 starts, a guy whose entire offseason had been about surviving the sport. That's who Clark picked as his punchline. And Tua's response turned this into a national story.
I'd appreciate if you kept my name out your mouth. That's what I'd say.
Tua's head coach, Mike McDaniel, publicly defended his conditioning, which is kind of crazy when you just look at this beef a couple years ago and realize how much Mike McDaniel used to have Tua's back. Dolphins fans lost their minds, and Clark did what Clark does. He posted an apology video. But guys, I want you to pay attention to this apology, because inside his own apology, Clark admits that his ego was involved.
No, don't get me wrong. My ego was involved.
And then he said when Tua suggested that things could get scrappy, his first thought was this.
Or he says he's scrappy. I think to myself, man, I fed my family on violence.
So the man apologized and flexed on the guy in the same exact breath. And that right there, guys, is the first run in what I like to call the Ryan Clark cycle. Step 1 is the attacks. Step 2 is the backlash. Step 3 is the apology. And I want you to keep count with me, because you're about to watch this machine run over and over and over again in this video. Let's go to December of 2024. Set the scene with me, guys. The Jets are the biggest disappointment in football. They went all in on Aaron Rodgers. He tore his Achilles 4 snaps into 2023. In the 2024 comeback season, everybody hyped up is dying in real time on the way to 5 wins. The whole sports media world is carving up Rodgers every single day. But Ryan Clark doesn't just carve up the football, he goes at the man himself. Says that Aaron Rodgers is devoid of the great leadership ability that it takes to lift a locker room.
Right? He has all of this cachet because he's a good player, but they ain't people around here that come around and talk about what type of leader you are. This dude is a fraud. He's been a fraud, and he could throw a football, and that's where it stops. Once that talent ends, so does him. To sit up there, man, and to be just blatantly hypocritical, it's funny.
Rodgers ironically responds on the Pat McAfee show, and you're gonna see why it's ironic in a few minutes.
Say whatever the fuck you want about me, I don't care. But just before you do it, just state your vax status so that anything you say afterwards gets put in the right light. Instead of your accolades that you need to have out there so desperately, just put your vax status as well, because you cared so much about it, during the COVID years. You don't just need a brooch with your initials.
Oh, jeez.
Put your vax status on there too.
Rodgers didn't even have to say Ryan Clark's name because he didn't have to. And this didn't blow over in a week like the other beefs. This one festered for an entire year. When Rodgers signed with the Steelers, which is Ryan Clark's old team, Ryan Clark rolled into training camp in August of 2025 wanting to bury the hatchet. Rodgers didn't even acknowledge the man's existence. So Rodgers wouldn't even fake it. A lot of people were clowning Ryan Clark because Rodgers absolutely torched him when the Steelers met the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. And then came May of 2025. I'm going to be careful about setting the context here. So Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese had this incredible rivalry in the WNBA. It was the biggest story in all of sports during this time. Every debate show, every timeline, every barbershop in America was arguing about these two women. Hell, I was covering it on my Flight Mike basketball channel. And the conversation had gotten heavy because it wasn't really just about basketball anymore.
Like,
race and media coverage and who America chooses to root for. So in the middle of all of this chaos, Robert Griffin III comes in. And remember, at this point, RG3 has rebuilt himself into a media guy after his playing career. The same as Ryan Clark. And RG3 posts that, in his opinion, Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. Ryan Clark disagrees. And that's fine. I mean, that's pretty much the format of modern sports analysis, unfortunately, at least on ESPN. But it's two former players debating a take. But Clark doesn't stop at disagreeing. He goes after RG3's home.
Angel Reese can be great in her own right, as Caitlin Clark is as well. Black men who have chose to marry outside of their race, they always feel like they have to go the extra mile to prop up the woman that they're married or the woman that they're with over black women by denigrating black women.
The man brought up the skin color of RG3's wife, a woman who has nothing to do with basketball, nothing to do with ESPN, nothing to do with any of this. He took a
She
WNBA
decent as
debate
hell, I
and
ain't
turned
gonna
it into a referendum on another man's marriage on the internet in front of millions of people.
I ain't gonna lie. Shout out RG3 though. Like, she bad as hell. I ain't gonna lie.
RG3's response was the most human
She's
moment
some
of this
candy.
entire saga.
There's a line in life that you just simply don't cross. Wives and children are always off limits. And Ryan Clark.
Shit, she got a sister? She married you, that mean her sister like niggas too. So she got a sister? Shit, she got
has
somebody?
sprinted past that line. Ryan Clark didn't like my sports take, but Angel Reese hates Caitlin Clark. And that's fine. It's okay. It's part of the game. But what you don't do is turn around and personally attack me and my family just because you don't agree with a sports opinion that is purely based off the sport.
And the pile-on was instant. Le'Veon Bell, Clark's own former Steelers teammate, publicly asked what Clark's real issue was. Sage Steele resurfaced.
Nigga, even his teammates say, nigga, is he tweaking for
Fans called for his job, and Emmanuel Acho, another former player in media, a guy who knows both men, looked at the entire ugly thing and asked the only question that mattered.
Just what's been won? What? Who's winning? Not people that look like me.
When your own peers are asking you what the point of all this is, it gives you an idea of how far this truly went. So what do you think happened next? Say it with me, guys. The apology. Clark went on the pivot and told RG3's wife directly.
So, to Greta, I was out of line. I was out of bounds. I apologize.
To his credit, it was a real apology, but here's the detail that matters the most for our story. The biggest name in the building had his back. Stephen A. Smith publicly did not want him fired. ESPN kept him again. This is the third time we're going through the cycle.
We're here in Hollywood at the LA Film School campus. Let me show you our pro spaces where our students work and learn. So now we're at our main stage.
Shorty look good as hell, I ain't
one
gonna lie. I like
Fired.
'em all,
ESPN kept him again. This is the third time we're going through the
my
cycle.
baby and Lil Ratchet, she love me right.
And then, right as ESPN superstar has his back and buys him some good grace, Ryan Clark decides to piss all over it 4 months later. In September of 2025, live on Get Up, debating CD Lamb's performance, Peter Schrager, one of the most respected insiders in the business, a guy ESPN had just hired away from the NFL Network, dares to disagree with Ryan Clark, and Clark dismisses the man to his face.
That's the non-player.
Oh, stop.
Props to Peter Schrager for having his own back.
Don't belittle me like that.
And to be fair to Schrager, the man defended himself beautifully. And it didn't stop when the cameras did. Clark's own apology admitted there was an interaction with Schrager, both on and off the air. Bro, this is going on behind the scenes too. Front Office Sports reported at the time that he could be on thin ice with ESPN. So how did ESPN handle this? Well, they put them right back on TV together that Monday. And Clark issued another apology, his second in the matter of 4 months. It looked like it blew over, but it didn't. Because on Monday's reporting on the firing, that moment right here gets singled out because we're getting word that the Schrager dig was perhaps the most damaging incident of them all. The one where ESPN's bosses stopped seeing a star and started seeing a problem. 10 months before the layoff, this was the moment the room went cold. I want you to remember that, guys, because this is now 4 public runs of the Ryan Clark cycle. 5 situations in total if you want to count the Sage Steele situation. And I want to ask you a question that I asked you guys in my last Ryan Clark video. When does a pattern stop being a coincidence? Look at the board, guys. Sage Steele, Tua Tagovailoa, Aaron Rodgers, Robert Griffin III, Peter Schrager, 5 controversies, multiple apology videos, and you know how many times ESPN fired him? 0, not once. So if the controversies didn't get this man fired, what did? Well, to get our answer, we have
This
to
nigga
follow
trying to
the
get him a
money.
job,
But
but
first,
he
you
ain't
need to
lined
see
up.
the moment where Ryan Clark beat
That's the fucked up part
ESPN at
about
its
it.
own game. So in February of 2024, Ryan Clark's contract expires the day after the Super Bowl, and most guys in that spot negotiate quietly behind closed doors, the way the industry has always done it. But not this dude. Clark takes the whole negotiation public. He posts that he and ESPN disagreed on terms. He announces to the world that it is no longer longer a secret that my contract with ESPN has expired. Heck, I'm the reason it's no longer a secret. He makes himself a free agent in the open on purpose, with ESPN's offer just sitting on the table while he lets them sweat. And it worked. ESPN came back, he signed a new deal. The man stared down the biggest sports media company on the planet and won. In 2024, Ryan Clark had leverage, and he knew exactly how to use it. Remember this moment, because it's about 90 seconds away from being one of the most brutal comparisons in this entire video. This week, every YouTube channel covering this story is going to run the same take. His mouth finally caught up to him. The controversies got him fired. And I brought up each and every one of his controversies, and I will admit it's bad, but I'm gonna also tell you straight up, that take is wrong. ESPN consistently had his back throughout the ugliest of controversies. Do you really think ESPN sat there for 10 months and said, you know what?
That Peter Schrager situation was terrible. We should fire this guy now.
Not only did they keep Ryan Clark throughout that entire catastrophe, but 3 months ago, they had him fronting their draft coverage. If ESPN wanted to fire Ryan Clark for being controversial, they had cleaner exits than this. They passed on all of them. So what changed? It's not Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark has been exactly who Mike Tomlin said he is for 5 years. What changed is the math. ESPN is staring down the most expensive stretch in company history. They're paying for their first Super Bowl broadcast ever. They've absorbed NFL Network personalities and extended contracts across the building. And according to Pro Football Talk, they're reportedly preparing to push Pat McAfee's compensation north of $60 million a year. 60 M's a year for one man. To give you an idea of what that number means, that's the amount that Dak Prescott gets paid to play quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, the second highest paid player in the entire NFL. That's more than Justin Herbert's average annual salary for a guy who talks about football in a tank top. And I'm not here to say he doesn't deserve that. It's just really funny when you put it that way. When a company is spending like that, the layoff spreadsheet comes out. And here's the cold truth about how layoffs actually work, guys. You don't cut the person who caused the most problems. You cut the person with the fewest defenders. Those are not the same thing, by the way. And my research backs this up. Per Andrew Marchand, ESPN's brass had soured on Clark because of the controversies. So they soured on him, but he wasn't fired because of them. He wasn't suspended because of them. They just soured on him. That word is doing a lot of work here. It means every one of those 5 moments survived as a memory in a boardroom. So when Clark's name came up on that spreadsheet, who was standing up for him? The Rodgers camp? Sage Steele's friends? Peter Schrager? Ryan Clark spent 5 years making sure that when this exact moment came, the room would be quiet. Last time it was Stephen A. Smith having his back. This time, nobody had his back. That's not a firing over a scandal, guys. That's a company deciding that you are no longer worth the headache anymore. The juice is just straight up not worth the squeeze. It's kind of crazy because in February of 2024,
I ain't gonna lie, gangster, they not gonna hire your ass, but continue.
Ryan Clark plays hardball in public, and ESPN comes back to the table and pays him. July of 2026, ESPN doesn't even offer him anything. No negotiation, no goodbye tour. The man found out he was done in the middle of taping his own show, and the only mercy ESPN showed him was telling him a day early so a reporter wouldn't beat them to it. The guy who always got the last word didn't get a word in at all. It's really unfortunate because Ryan Clark is really one of the sharpest football minds on television, and at the same time, he made himself the easiest cut in the building. Talent kept him employed through 5 controversies, but it just couldn't make him worth defending.
Oh, Los Angeles.
Just couldn't make him worth defending. But before you feel too sorry for Ryan Clark, I need to show you something, because Ryan Clark might be the one guy in Bristol who is actually ready for this. While all of this was burning, Ryan Clark was quietly building something that ESPN never owned. It's called the Pivot Podcast, and guys, I couldn't make this name up if I tried. The man got fired, and his escape hatch has literally been called the Pivot for years. And this is not some little side hustle. Ryan Clark hosts the Pivot with Channing Crowder and Fred Taylor. He has over 1.38 million YouTube subscribers and consistently ranks top 10 among sports podcasts in the country. They've had Kevin Hart, they've had Shaq, guys, they've had Barack Obama.
Shorty, that's why he was in that bit doing all like, ain't get no fuck. He like, man, don't get no fuck.
The former president of the United
told they
States
ass,
sat
boy,
down
I
on
had
Ryan
Barack
Clark's
on my
independent
shit, boy, I
show.
don't get no
ESPN
fuck.
doesn't own a piece of that. Disney doesn't own a piece of that. That's his. And there's a playbook for what happens next, because two of the biggest names in this industry already ran it. Shannon Sharpe stepped away from ESPN in April of 2025 after a lawsuit was filed against him, allegations he denied, a case that settled that July, and ESPN moved on without him. And you know what happened to his career? Almost nothing, because Club Shay Shay and Nightcap never belonged to ESPN. His Cat Williams interview alone did over 90 million views. When the network disappeared, the empire stayed. The network was the accessory. The ownership was the foundation. And then there's the ceiling of all this. Shannon Sharpe is only scratching the surface. Look at Bill Simmons. ESPN fired him in 2015 after public clashes with his bosses. The man built The Ringer basically out of spite, and 5 years later, he sold it to Spotify for up to $196 million in cash per Spotify's own SEC filing. The Ringer basically out of spite.
Let me read this shit
5 years
correct.
later, he sold it to Spotify for up to
Nigga, do you know how much $196 million is in cash? And then the nigga got it in cash so it cannot be taxed. Nigga's a fucking genius. Oh my goodness. This nigga is a fucking genius. This nigga is a fucking genius. And then it's a tax write-off. This nigga's a fucking genius.
$196 million.
Who the fuck is this account?
$1 in cash per Spotify's own SEC filing, with reports putting the full package around $250 million. Getting fired by ESPN was the single best thing that has ever happened to Bill Simmons' bank account. Give me a break. The man should send Bristol a fruit basket every Christmas. And here's what's kind of crazy. Clark might be more ready for this jump than either of them was. Sharpe had to build Club Shay Shay after losing Undisputed. Simmons had to build The Ringer from scratch after the firing. Clark is already sitting on a top 10 show today, right now, with an audience that ESPN can't touch. But let me be honest with you, there's a real cost here too, and I'm not gonna pretend like there isn't. The Pivot is a 3-man partnership, not his solo empire, and what Clark actually lost on Monday is daily reach. NFL Live put him in front of millions of casual football fans every single afternoon. No podcast on earth replaces that pipeline. He can be set up for the future and still have lost something huge today. Both of these things can be true at the same time. So where does Ryan Clark go from here?
Alright, enough of what he talking about. I feel like this, bro. I feel like Brady didn't get no fuck because he knew, like, I'm making more money outside this shit than I'm making in this shit. That's just like you hustling for us, right? And you working like 2 jobs, you working a job, you working somewhere that just, and you know you doing hella other shit on the side that, you feel me, is really working. And they up in that bitch playing with you like, fuck, I'm in this bitch. Shorty, I'm losing money being in this bitch. Fuck, like, man, look. Yeah, that's why he ain't getting no fuck, man. Look, y'all, man. This nigga's trying to get a job and shit. He just been hating all video, but I peeped through the hate. I ain't tripping. Love y'all, man. See y'all in a couple seconds, not some minutes, man.